Welcome to the RetireMax software tutorial. Our belief is that you are in the greatest profession on the planet, and the need for your talents and services has never been greater. Think about this. 1 in 3 Americans have less than $5,000 saved for retirement. And to make it worse, most studies show that over 40% of Americans aren't saving anything for retirement. It's a problem with systemic consequences, and it's a problem that RetireMax is addressing head-on. And we welcome you on this journey to help your clients build and create the wealth they will need to protect their futures. Know that this app is cloud-based software, and you must be using Wi-Fi or a cellular connection for the software to run. This is to make sure that all your hard work is being continuously saved to the cloud and protected from loss. As you'll see, the software always opens to the data input page. If you tap on the drop-down menu in the upper left-hand corner, you'll notice that the data input page is the first tab that appears in the drop-down menu. Before entering information into the data input page, we suggest you go to the My RetireMax tab and enter your personal information, as we will do in this tutorial. You'll only have to do this one time, or until you need to make a change. The My RetireMax tab allows you to personalize your RetireMax. You can input your personal information here. But to improve your marketing efforts and to make your mom proud, tap on the orange outlined circle and insert a professional photo. If applicable, you can also enter your broker-dealer disclosure in the Advisor Personal Disclosure section. This disclosure will carry over to each tab in the software. This page also becomes your title page if pages are printed or sent as a PDF. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say. RetireMax, like all software, is dependent on good data. Great data leads to great clients. Now, as I tap on the Data Input tab at the very top center, there's a little orange and white pencil. If you tap on that pencil, a pop-up notepad appears that allows notes to be made for that tab. This note option is located on each tab in the software. In the Data Input tab, make sure to enter the data accurately in order for the software to work correctly. Any cell that is white in color is an imputable cell. Under Client Information, the cells have been pre-populated. If you want to include a spouse's information, notice next to the client at the top, there's a little plus sign. You can tap on that, and the spousal column will drop down, and you can enter the data for the spouse. The date of birth is a scroll that allows you to easily put in the date of birth. Under the paycheck information, please note that this is information taken from the actual paycheck. The difference between pay periods per year and pre-tax per year is that some employers do not withhold all of the pre-tax deductions for each pay period. For example, if the employer is on a monthly pay cycle but withholds the pre-tax deductions over 10 months, a 12 and 10 would be used. Otherwise, a 12 and 12 would be inputted. Typically, the number of pay periods and the pre-tax per year will be the same. Directly under the gross pay cell, there are 2 orange tabs. The left one is for the client, and the other is for the spouse. Just tap on the orange tab, and it will rotate between the different deductions. 403B, 457, 401k, and IRA for both client and spouse. Directly under the pension cell, there are 2 additional orange tabs. The left one is for the client, and the other is for the spouse. Just tap on the orange tab, and it will rotate between the different deductions. Roth 403B, 457, 401k, Roth, NQ investment, and 529 for both client and spouse. Be sure to enter in the paycheck information as accurately as possible. If you don't want to enter the miscellaneous after-tax deductions from the paycheck, you don't need to. The software will automatically put the correct amount into Other because the net paycheck amount has been entered, and it will calculate the difference for that cell. Under the 1040 tax information, you can tap and scroll for the correct filing status. The tax credits, as an example, may be 16 and under child tax credit or educational credits. The dollar amount entered equals the amount of credits. I will input $2,000 into the cell for the one child my client has that is 16 and under. This cell could also be used for any other tax credits your client might have available to them. The standard itemized deduction line is for the total itemizations or the standard deduction. The standard deduction amount appears in the cell. However, you can override that amount and input your own number as long as the number is greater than the standard deduction. Notice when doing so, the standard deduction orange box appears, and if you tap that box, it will automatically put in the current tax year's standard deduction in the cell. If you input a number less than the standard deduction, for example, $500, it will automatically input the standard deduction. In our example, we're going to use $30,000 of itemizations. The next line is highlighted, and displays the total monthly federal tax that should be withheld to equal the amount of actual federal taxes due, based on the above paycheck information. You'll notice that this number should drive the withholding taxes in the W-4 section. The following line shows the monthly federal tax that is currently being withheld. The number in the upper left corner of this cell is the amount that is currently being under withheld compared to the actual withholding tax in the above cell. In the W-4 information section, the filing status needs to be entered. Notice that you can enter whatever filing status you entered in the 1040 tax information section, as shown on Form W-4. This W-4 section is designed to have the paycheck withholding taxes equal to or exceed what the actual 1040 taxes are going to be. That is why the highlighted number in the 1040 section, $435, is so important. It is the actual taxes owed. The next three lines are pre-tax deductions, state retirement, 401k, 403b, and cafeteria plan, section 125, that can be filled in to adjust the highlighted monthly withholding tax in this section in order for it to be equal to or exceed the actual monthly withholding tax in the 1040 section. The number in the upper left corner of each of these cells is the annualized amount being withheld from the paycheck. All numbers need to be annual numbers when entered into these cells. The next line is annualized tax credits that are used in the 1040 tax section. The actual annual amount is shown in the upper left corner of the cell, and if married, the total amount is divided in half between the client and spouse. The next line is used if Step 2C is checked on the Form W-4, as seen here. If there are only 2 jobs total, Step 2C may be checked on the W-4 form. Be sure to check the Step 2C on Form W-4 for the other job also. This option is accurate for jobs with similar pay. Otherwise, more tax than necessary may be withheld. The next line is for extra withholding, and the amount of this number needs to be entered based on per pay period. As an example, if an individual was under withholding an annual amount of $1,200 on their taxes and was paid monthly, they would put $100 in this section, and this is where it would go on the Form W-4. Again, this line is used if one would like to have more taxes withheld. A note about the standard deduction line. The standard deduction amount is automatically a part of the Form W-4 based on the entered filing status and cannot be lowered. It can be increased if there are more deductions than the standard amount, but the amount cannot be less than the standard amount because it is a built-in part of the federal Form W-4. When $500 is inputted, the cell stays at $24,800, but when $30,000 is put in, it stays. I'll use the $24,800 of this example. The highlighted monthly withholding line illustrates the monthly amount of federal tax that is going to be withheld from the paycheck. If both the client and spouse are being illustrated, the total dollar amount of the two combined is shown in the upper left corner of the spouse's cell. The number in this line should equal or exceed the actual monthly withholding tax in the 1040 section. If it does not, you'll see an exclamation in a circle, and when tapped, gives a warning that the W-4 withholding may be insufficient. If this tax is bigger than the actual monthly withholding tax in the 1040 section, the larger portion represents the amount of 1040 tax refund. The Step 2 withholding line is the withholding dollar amount that would be withheld if Step 2C were checked on Form W-4. In this example, the total W-4 withholding tax is $494, $247 for both client and spouse. The current monthly withholding $554, and the actual monthly withholding tax in the 1040 section is $435. This shows the individual would be over withholding $119 each month. In order to get the W-4 withholding tax closer to the actual tax, I'll enter $1,000 in the tax credit line. As you can see, the withholding tax would be $411, as shown in the W-4 section, which is under the necessary amount of $435, as shown in the 1040 section. This would cause underwithholding, as shown by the exclamation mark. If I lower the amount of the tax credit line to $700, the total withholding is now $436, which is $1 more than what is needed. And this is where I would enter the number on the Form W-4, Step 3. Instead of claiming a credit, I could use a pre-tax deduction. I could enter $3,700 in state retirement, and because I still would be over withholding, I would then enter $2,400 in 125 plan line. But notice, I am now under withholding. If I change it from $2,400 to $2,000, my withholding is exactly $437. This is where I would make the change on the Form W-4 and Step 4B. As always, you'll want to check your work to make sure everything is how you want it to be. To check my work, I created the W-4 tax withholding in the My Paycheck tab under New 1. Then I will look at the Before and After tab to make sure my taxes are in order. In the W-4 information section, the withholding amount for the client is $190 and $247 for the spouse. And this is what I recreated in the My Paycheck tab. The withholding taxes were adjusted by utilizing some of the over-withholding taxes, $87 for the client, which brought their current withholding of $277 down to the $190, and for the spouse, $30 was used to bring the withholding tax down from the $277 to the $247 as shown in the W-4 section of the Data Input tab. The tax analysis looks correct. The annual tax liability of $5,228 is a little less than the annual taxes paid, or $5,244. So, I've checked my work, which is so important to do. Please note that there are tutorials for both the My Paycheck tab and the Before and After tab. The I symbol in the W-4 information header controls whether or not the annual numbers are shown in the upper left-hand corner of the cells below. Okay, the data is in. Now RetireMax can go to work. This is where the magic happens. And it's okay if it only took you a few minutes to create a plan that looks like it took hours. We won't tell. Heck, that's why we built it, so you could go spend more time doing what you do best, building relationships and closing business.